What's up, guys? We are here today talking about potential two major fight announcements. I say potential because it has not been booked officially. It is targeted, it is rumored, but it seems to be very likely. The first fight, we have Shavkat Rakhmonov potentially taking on Kamaru Usman. The second fight is going to be Diego Lopes taking on Alexander Volkanovski. These are two incredible, high-powered, big-name matchups. The first one we'll just get to real quick, Shavkat and Kamaru Usman. So Shavkat was going to get his title shot against Belal Muhammad, and then Belal has to pull out due to what they're calling a foot injury. Specifically, it's his toe. If you guys have not seen the picture yet, it is nasty. He's got a toe infection. There's pictures floating around Twitter, on Instagram. Make sure to check that out. I'm not going to be posting it here. That'll probably throw off the algorithm. I don't think YouTube would like that, but it is pretty nasty. It is a legitimate pullout from Belal. So, all the haters, I know Belal probably has the most haters out there. They can just relax a little bit. It'll be kind of surprising to see if for some reason Dana White decides to strip the belt away from Belal. I'm not saying it's completely off the table because I just think that's the way that the UFC probably views Belal. And he's only a couple months into his title reign here, but that is something that's not off the table. I don't think it's actually going to happen. I think it's just way too soon for something like that to happen. But hey, we've seen crazier things happen before. So it just seems like it's going to be just a normal 170-pound matchup between Shavkat, one of the best prospects that we've probably ever seen. I mean, this guy, since day one, we have pegged him as a future champion. And along the way, he is not disappointed. He is getting better and better as the competition increases. So this is going to be a very difficult matchup for Kamaru Usman, and I hate to say it. I love Kamaru Usman. I'm a massive fan. He's probably the second greatest welterweight of all time behind GSP, and, Prime Usman was a problem. He's a guy who started out with just dominant cardio, dominant wrestling, but along the way, working with Trevor Whitman, he started working on the hands. The boxing became very crisp. He has a nasty jab. He's got big power. I mean, he really just turned into the pound-for-pound number one, it seems like, overnight, and his title reign is something that we can't forget. But the problem is that he's on that wrong side of 30, not even 30. He's like 35, 36 now. He's had a couple injuries with the knees. It just seems like he's not a shell of himself, but he's definitely not that prime Usman that we remember just a couple years back. And it is interesting because you look at when he took the fight on short notice, up a weight class, and this is like a couple days notice, it felt like, when he was taking on Khamzat Chimaev. He was one of the few guys who's actually able to survive in round one and then kind of turn the tables, and he nearly won that fight going to decision with Khamzat Chimaev. And again, that's just a few days notice, and that's up a weight class. So, I don't know what to make of Usman. I kind of wrote him off when he lost to Leon Edwards 2 times. But then he kind of bounces back in a big way against Khamzat. And now, yes, he's taking the fight on short notice against Shavkat, but at least he's getting a month or two of a camp. I mean, he's getting a decent sized camp here. So he is going to be ready. I'm not really sure where I'm leaning. You probably have to lean on Shavkat to probably get the job done. I mean, this guy, kind of the same way. I mean, he's got a nasty ground game, definitely has the submission upside, and his striking is much more versatile and very dangerous as well. But do we know if he can go a hard 5 rounds? I think that's going to be the biggest question mark. And that was always the question mark with a guy like Khamzat Chimaev. And then it turns out he might not even have good 3-round cardio, and Usman nearly wins that fight. So are we going to get something similar to that fight? I think it's very, very possible, but it's just hard to tell because Father Time is typically undefeated. And again, Usman sitting at like 35, 36 years old. He has the injuries. It just seems like it's a very uphill battle for him, but I'm not going to just write him off completely because he is just such an incredibly gifted athlete, one of the best fighters we've seen in this generation. So I'm not going to write him off, but I'm probably going to have a slight lean to Shavkat early on. But in terms of matchmaking, I mean, that's like a 9 out of 10. If we were getting prime Usman full camp, that might be a 10 out of 10. So that's going to be an awesome fight. And then the second one, Diego Lopes taking on Alexander Volkanovski. It's kind of a similar tale here. So we have Alexander Volkanovski also hitting that age where once you go past 35, typically you start to fall off a cliff. and we've seen that downslide from him. So he's also taking fights on short notice, up a weight class against Islam Makhachev, gets knocked out brutally in round 1, and then turns around very quickly and takes on Ilia Topuria, who also clearly has massive power, and he gets knocked out in round 2. So he did look pretty decent against Ilia Topuria in round 1. He did outland him. He's got really good boxing. He can work in the wrestling, which I think could be massive against a guy like Diego Lopes, who typically has a low takedown percentage. But again, it's like you're betting against Father Time. And at some point, these guys, yes, they have massive name recognition. They're going to go down in history as some of the greatest fighters of all time. But ultimately, it's a young man's sport. And Diego Lopes, similar to Shavkat, he just keeps getting better every step of the way. When the competition increases, he is matching that. He is coming out here against Brian Ortega, who's been ranked in the top 5 forever, and he dominates him. So, the upside on Diego Lopes is absolutely massive right now. I do think there is a glaring weakness with the takedown defense. So if Volkanovski can go in there and wrestle, I think that could be a problem, because I think Lopes is another guy who might struggle with cardio. I want to see this guy go a hard 5 rounds, especially if someone is mixing in that wrestling and really wearing on him and making him work. And on the feet, yeah, Diego Lopes is definitely slick, and he's got some good power. But Volkanovski is a very slick boxer as well. So I think that's going to be a very interesting matchup to kind of keep an eye on. Both of them really are. It's just you get the older fighters with the big name recognition. Sometimes they're able to humble these younger guys, and that's kind of the difficult decision we have to make when these fights are being booked. So again, nothing is official, but it's being rumored, it's being targeted. I'm down for it. That second fight there is probably similar. It's like an 8 out of 10, almost a 9 out of 10 matchup. So I'm fingers crossed that these fights actually take place. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. And we'll see you guys next time.